I love orchids and they come in all different sizes and colors. Today I'm going to show you how to make a little gem dotted orchid using some supplies from Altenew. Hi everyone, it's Kari from sunshineinmypocket.com. I'm so excited to share this with you today. This is the Craft a Flower Orchids set, and it's a die set and it's gorgeous. It's just so beautiful. I was really excited to create this project. There are quite a few orchids that come in the set, and the thing I love about this is they have them all grouped together like this. So see, this is one orchid flower, and then you have all these others and also 3 different stems that you can use. They also include some additional center dies, so in case you want to make those different colors or whatever you want to do. Today we're going to be coloring them with inks and Copic markers. So I've started out using one of these finger daubers here. And this one is for my hot pink colors. So I've got a couple of shades of distress ink. Now I've been loving my distress inks lately. You can use any inks that you have. You can use dye inks or pigment inks, whatever you want to use. Today I'm just using the distress inks, the regular distress inks, and I'm going in with picked raspberry and some worn lipstick. I'm trying to leave it lighter on the edges, meaning I want it to be darker in the middle and then kind of fade out to white or a really light pink. So that's my focus for doing this one here. Now that I have this first one shaded in those colors, I'm going to remove those from my cardstock and start putting them together. This is my very first orchid to assemble, so I just kind of wanted to get a feeling of what it was going to look like and make sure that this was the look I was going for on the base coat of my coloring. I also attached the center piece, which I colored up a little bit darker, and then there's this little piece here which I think looks really great. There's actually 2 pieces there. They're really small, so you could leave them off if you wanted, but I love coloring those up with a little bit of yellow Copic marker and layering those on each other and then adding that to the orchid. So that just adds additional detail and layering to this beautiful flower. And as you can see, it's gorgeous, just colored with inks just like this, nice and soft, but I'm not finished yet. So I'm going to go ahead and curl these up just a little bit with my fingernail or my thumbnail. I'm being very careful not to bend the paper, just kind of fold it up a little, or it coaxes it to curl up. And that gives it a little more dimension and it looks like a real flower. So now I'm taking my RV09 Copic marker, and this is just a dark pink. I'm going to add some dots. Now these are the darkest dots, and I will kind of blend those out with different colors, but look already how beautiful this is looking. So that adds some of the detail on these dotted orchids. So pretty. So here's where I'm going to blend it through a little bit. I'm just adding some lighter dots with the RV04 on top of those darker dots just to make them softer. And then I go in even softer with an RV02. Now you can add more dots if you want. You can add less dots if you want. It's up to you how you want your orchid to look. But this is a really fun technique, and it's super simple, and it creates, I think, a beautiful flower. So there's our first floral from this set. And now I'm going to go in and color the rest of them up with the same method using some inks. For the stems, I'm going to use a variety of green shades. I've got my Minty Mint here. And then I'll go in with some Sweet Leaf and Hunter Green as well, just to ink those on a little bit darker. And then I wanted it to be a little brighter, so I also brought in kind of like a lime green shade of ink. So you can see this looks really awful, really messy right now. But when I'm finished with this inking, it's going to give some great variation on these stems and leaves. So I'll just finish that up and take a look here as I pull them out. There's some really good variation, and I like that. See that? So you can darken them up in spots, you can create them lighter in spots, but it's just really fun to have that variation in color. Now I'm going to start arranging my orchids to see how they look on this particular one. Now obviously you can create multiple leaves and stems for these orchids. I have quite a few because I cut all of them out and I colored all of them. So I have some to choose from here. And I created, these ones don't have the dots yet, but I will be adding those just like this. And I created those a little bit lighter than the first one. I wanted them to all look a little bit different, yet look like they're from the same plant. So I'm just going to arrange this on an A2 size card panel to make sure it's going to fit. And that's going to fit nicely, but I want a nice background, so I'm going to use the stone wall stencil for this. This happens to be probably one of my favorites for a background for climbing flowers. And I know that an orchid doesn't normally climb on a wall, but I think this gives some really good interest to the background. I'm using iced spruce, which is one of my favorite grays for this background, and just doing a nice light coating of that and fading off into white around the edges. So here's where we're going to put this all together. I've die cut the bee kind die, and I'm going to build it up 3 layers thick. So I cut some extra out of white cardstock, and then I colored the top layer with the same pinks that I used on the orchids. And I did this in kind of an ombre technique, so it's lighter at the top and it gets darker going down the sentiment, just like this. And now it's time to go ahead and put this all together. I'm going to pop up each of those orchids with some foam tape. I glued down the stem and the leaves with some liquid adhesive. And now here, this is the magic part. Look how pretty these are. It's a really fun, easy way to build a floral card that has quite a bit of dimension. I'm going to go ahead and put this on my card base now. My card base is 110 pounds to give it some nice weight to be able to hold up those orchids. And now to give it some finishing touches, I'm going to pull in some drops. And these are the pearl drops, liquid pearls in the oyster color. I think that's the color. I'll have to find that to make sure. But it's a really beautiful pearl look. So I'm just going to add dots to the left side of each of the letters here. And I'm very careful to add just small little dots, just kind of tapering off at the end. And then I'll tap the back so that it smooths those out, but they are going to stay dimensional like a pearl. So it's really, really pretty and easy to do. I'm going to add a few to each of the orchids as well. And that's going to finish off this card. Some nice dimension to this, some really fun details with those dots as well. I love these sets from Altenew. I hope you enjoyed this project too. If you did, give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. It really does help me out with YouTube, and I appreciate it every time you do that. Thank you so much for coming back again and again as well. And I'll be back with more card making inspiration real soon. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.